Hi, this is Phil at Simply Rhino, and in this video we're going to take a look at installing V-Ray 3 for Rhino, and more specifically upgrading from V-Ray 2 to V-Ray 3. If you are currently using V-Ray 2, you'll be using a USB license key or dongle like this, and at the time of making this video you'll need to use the dongle for the version 3 upgrade. So here we have an installed version of V-Ray 2 in Rhino, and there are a number of steps that we need to go through before we upgrade to version 3. Firstly, we need to update the USB hardware lock, and to do this we can open up a web browser and then type in this address. This will take us to a page showing the license details, and at the bottom of the page we'll follow the Upgrade Your Licenses link. This will prompt us to create a small WBC file that will be sent to either Chaos Group or Simply Rhino as directed. Once the WBC file has been processed, you'll receive an updater file. This is another small text file called an RTU. Generally, this will arrive to you via email. Drag the RTU file onto the desktop and, with the USB hardware lock installed, double-click on the RTU file. You'll be asked if you want to transfer the contents of the RTU file onto the hardware lock. Select Yes. You should then see a message saying that the hardware lock has been updated. Now we need to uninstall V-Ray 2 from Rhino and make sure that all render components, toolbars, etc. are removed. So first of all we'll close down Rhino. Now we can right click on the Windows menu and select Programs and Features. Scroll down to V-Ray for Rhino, and you should see the version 2 here, and uninstall. So we're going to uninstall V-Ray for Rhino and all of the associated modules. And wait for this to uninstall. Now we can go to the Windows menu and just check in our menu here that we don't have any Chaos Group items left in our Windows menu. Now if we open Rhino, you will see that we still have some V-Ray toolbars. So let's see if we can remove those. Let's go to our PC and the C drive. Look in this case for program files, Rhinoceros 5, I'm using the 64-bit version, plugins, and you'll see there's a V-Ray for Rhino folder here. So we'll delete this, which will put it in the trash. Also, we want to go to our C drive and program data. Now if I just go back one step, you'll see that program data has got a slightly grayed out icon. Program data is a hidden file, so you'll need to go to your folder settings to make program data visible. Double click on program data and delete the folder called ASGVIS, ASGVIS. Okay, now empty the recycle bin. If we now start up Rhino again. We'll see that our docked toolbars have gone, but we may still see some V-Ray toolbars that are still hanging around, as it were. So if we now type in toolbar reset and then restart Rhino, we should have now cleared out all of the toolbars that we didn't need. Okay, so there's now no V-Ray toolbars in the list. Okay, now it sometimes is quite difficult to remove some of these toolbars, but if you go through the steps that we've done in this video, you should be able to clean out the toolbars completely. So we're now at a stage where we've cleaned out the V-Ray 2 installation, we have cleaned out any stray toolbars, and we no longer have any chaos group items in our Windows menu. The next step is now to download the V-Ray 3 installer. To download the latest version of V-Ray for Rhino, open a web browser and go to chaosgroup.com. Then log in to the download portal by typing in your login details that Chaos Group or Simply Rhino have advised you of. Then go to the downloads page and you should see a list of all the Rhino plugins that you have available, and download, in this case, V-Ray 3 for Rhino. At the download prompt here, you'll be asked whether you want to run or save the file. It's a good idea to save the file so that you have a copy of the installer. Once the download is completed, you should see that this has been saved in your downloads folder. So here I'm just going to drag the installer onto the desktop. With the installer on the desktop, now I'm going to pause my virus protection. And I'm then going to make sure that my USB license key or dongle is inserted into the machine, and then I can run the installer. Agree to the terms, and one of the things we need to do for an upgrade from 2 to 3 is to use a customized installation, and we want to choose a local V-Ray license server on this machine rather than a remote license server. And run the installation. Okay, and run this through now till the finish. Okay, now what should happen is you should get to the equivalent of the localhost page, and rather than enabling online licensing here, we just need to skip this step, and you should see now the license server page. Here we can activate online licensing offline licensing, and you'll see that the dongle licensing is highlighted here. So this page is accessing the local port 30304 to which the USB license or dongle is connected. And the web address for this is slightly different to that which we would use for version 2 of V-Ray. We're going to look at how we actually access this page a little later on, but for now, as we've said, this shows us that the dongle license is enabled, and if we click on here we can see details of the dongle. Here we can see details of our V-Ray 3 license. Here we can see any details of any 1.5 or 2.0 licenses, and we can see the number of render nodes connected here. So we're going to come back to this page in a short while. If I now come out of this page, the remaining components of V-Ray will install. Now go through the final steps in the installation to install Swarm and the other components. Until V-Ray finishes. Once the installation is finished, you'll see a release log. With the installation completed, we can restart our machine and re-enable the virus protection. Then if we start up Rhino, we should see the V-Ray plugin will be detected and load. So if we go to Render and Current Renderer, switch to V-Ray for Rhino, this will enable our V-Ray toolbars. You can drag these V-Ray toolbars up here. And draw a bit of geometry. And press the render button. And we should see that V-Ray should be up and running. Now, if we want to access the license details that we would have previously accessed by going into a web browser, we can now use a shortcut from the Start menu, and this is going to from the Windows menu, and then we can go to the Chaos group here, and we can go to Manage V-Ray Online License Server. Now, even if you're not using the online license server, we just press the skip button here, and this gets us back to the page where we can change from dongle licensing to offline, online, etc. So remember that if you have the USB hardware key installed, you'll always see the dongle option here being highlighted. If you wanted to, you could type in the web address directly, and that's localhost :30304// So slightly different web address to previous, but accessing the same port. If we go back to Rhino now and just very brief look at the V-Ray for Rhino toolbar, you will see that a new asset editor has replaced the separate V-Ray options rollout and material and texture editor. If you have V-Ray Express installed, you may pick up some of the materials from V-Ray Express in your materials browser. Now, at the top of the asset editor here we have a materials section, lights, geometry, settings, and then a button to render and open the frame buffer. If we go back to materials, there is now an inbuilt materials library, and if we, for example, go to car paint and open that folder, we'll see all the car paint materials here, and we simply drag these into our document. And then to apply these materials, we right click on the material and apply either to selection or layer, pretty much as you did in older versions of V-Ray. Materials now will have quick settings where we can change, for example, the base color, the glossiness, the color of the flakes, etc. in a slider based quick way, or we can click on the little arrow on the right of the asset editor here and we can get to the more detailed options. So if you've used V-Ray 2, these will be very familiar to you. So the idea with V-Ray 3 is that we have this simplified interface so we can get rendering much more quickly. When we come to, for example, lights, geometry and options, the tab on the right will give us options for the settings that were covered in the V-Ray options rollout previously. Okay, so that's V-Ray 3.0 and its new simplified interface. I hope that you've found this installation video useful. Please do check back on our channel as new content is updated regularly. Thank you very much for watching.